John Molyneux and we're discussing the situation in Egypt.
Well, it's been a really momentous week. On the 30th of June, there was a mass mobilisation of the Egyptian people on a scale that's probably never been seen before in world history. The demonstrations were absolutely enormous. It was being reported that the demonstrations were up to 17 million people. Then, just as it was turning to big strikes and so on, the army intervened, and now we've got a military government. This military government is potentially clashing, well, it has already clashed with the Muslim Brotherhood protesters and maybe shot down maybe 50 of them and so on. So the situation is dramatic, dynamic and complex at the moment.
Yeah, and what's the background to the protests?
Yeah. I think that in order to understand what is happening, we have to go back actually to the beginning of 2011 or before. Just to recap, Egypt is ruled by a dictator, Hosni Mubarak, with the aid of the military, and he's very much their man and rules with them. And it is a vicious police state. He is also America's man in the region. Then what happens is there's a revolution in Tunisia, and this inspires the Egyptian people. On the 25th of January 2011, Mubarak uses all his forces, the police forces, to try and smash those people off the street. But the mass of the people, especially the young people of Cairo and Egypt as well, what's going on in Alexandria and Suez and across the country, defeat this attempt to crush the revolution on the streets in epic battles. And after 18 days, just as the movement is turning again into industrial action, the strike wave spreading across the country, the military kind of concede defeat by arresting Mubarak and then saying, Mubarak has gone and we're going to take over in the name of the people. For a while this had the effect of halting the movement, but gradually discontent against the military develops. The revolution was carried out with three main aims: freedom, democracy and social justice. The Egyptian economy is nosediving. It was already going down under Mubarak and it's continued to go down because of the international economic climate. And unemployment is appallingly high. Among young people, unemployment is something like 80%. So they don't get work at all. And crucially, inflation has gone up from 3% to between 13 and 18%. And that literally affects people's ability to buy bread. So there's the economic crisis is driving people to rebel. And so they rebelled against the Army Council, the SCAF who took over. That forced an election. In the election they defeated the army candidate, Shafiq, and the person who got elected was the representative of the Muslim Brotherhood, because the Muslim Brotherhood had been the main opposition to Mubarak for a long time. But the Muslim Brotherhood, like many such parties, operate with capitalism. They operate with the system. They did a deal with the military, who remain one of the core of the Egyptian ruling class. And because of this, they couldn't satisfy the demands of the people. So discontent, particularly the call for social justice, and so on, then focused on the Muslim Brotherhood government and mounted against them. And that led to this, to the major sort of second wave of the revolution on the 30th of June. Once again, then, the military intervened. It was not really that they staged an ordinary coup, like in Chile. It's they intervened to save the system by getting rid of the government under the pressure of the people. And that's the situation we're in now. Many of the demonstrators, or some of the demonstrators at least, welcomed the army because they thought they were on their side against Morsi, but there's also a hardcore of the demonstrators, the people who don't want either Morsi or the military, but want social justice.
And what do you think is going to happen in the future?
Well, of course, none of us know exactly what will happen in the future, but it's clear that I don't think any regime in Egypt that operates on a capitalist basis can meet the demands of the people. It's also clear that we have a risen people with an amazing level of combativity, militancy. They don't want to take this anymore. They have to in order to move forward, they're going to have to develop forms of people's organisation, of people power on the ground, organised in the communities, the workplaces and so on, to represent a real alternative. That's what revolutionary socialists in Egypt are putting forward as the way forward. Combine that with strike action and so on. And I think, you know, overall we'd say this, that we have two fundamental ingredients in a revolution. The first, and without which you don't get anywhere, is people power. They got and had people power in an enormous sense in Egypt, but that in itself is not enough. You also need a political alternative that is not separate from that people power, but that emerges out of that people power. That is a revolutionary socialist or alternative.
What do we want? Trumpets, Patrick, feel a fall! Trumpets, Patrick, feel a fall! In the media, RTE are trying to sell you a lie. And you know it's a lie because look around you right now. And the lie that they're trying to sell is that the Irish people are compliant. They tried to tell you that the 15,000 who marched to save the hospital in Waterford, it was all a dream, it didn't happen, the Irish are compliant. Everywhere people protest. 5,000 people to 7,000 people protested on April the 13th against the property tax. RTE said, it didn't happen, you didn't see that, the Irish are compliant. Now the unfortunate thing is, some of us have started to internalise that message. We started to say to ourselves, you know what, the Irish are compliant. In other words, we're repeating the lie that the media has sold us.
I just want to say, I'm probably repeating a lot of what other people are saying, but really for people to take stock, stop yourselves and look at what happened this week. We had to listen to those smarmy bastards in the banks and those Anglo tapes, and it sickened to your stomach. But what did it show you? We changed the faces. We have a supposed democracy. We changed the faces. We got rid of Fianna Fáil. It shows you where the real power is. We have a capitalist class that's an organised gang. They are criminals, organised gangs. And they have the ear of our politicians. 17 separate meetings representatives of the Irish financial services sector had from down there. 17 private meetings with the Taoiseach and Minister Noonan to lobby for tax loopholes to make them even richer. Their greed and their arrogance is sickening. But the lesson is, yeah, jail the bankers and definitely bloody refuse for us to pay for a public inquiry. How dare they suggest that we pay for an inquiry? Taxpayers that have been shafted. We want them jailed. They are not above the law. And maybe there is a lot of laws in this country, but there seems to be no bloody justice. But we'll demand justice by getting out in numbers and forcing their hands, because people power does work. We've seen that with the victory over them going for our forests to privatise them. We saw it when the pensioners came out. And the previous generation, somebody said people don't protest, or for years they haven't protested. The previous generation got out and marched when they were paying 70 pence in the pound, and they won for us all of the things that my generation enjoy, because they give us nothing.